What if the person you can't forget wasn't just an obsession of your heart, but a silent response that your soul recognized before you even understood why? You think it's a simple attachment, but there's something strange. When you pray, that person returns. When you forget them, the signs appear. When you move away, your heart remains connected. What if Allah was revealing something that only time could explain to you? What if this love wasn't a distraction, but a mission, a choice that God Himself is confirming? It's not a coincidence, perhaps it's a decree. And today, it could be that Allah is releasing clarity. 1. When the heart seeks an answer. There are silences that cry out louder than words, looks that no one sees, but that heaven hears. There are hearts that haven't found peace elsewhere because they know that what they feel doesn't come from them alone. You may have already asked yourself, why this person? Why this intensity? When you haven't looked for anything, when you've tried to forget, to divert, to calm your soul. But the heart doesn't lie when Allah inscribes a truth in it. And what you feel may not be a distraction. It may be guidance, divine direction. A gentle and discreet call, but so profound that it permeates your days and nights. The believer's heart is not abandoned to itself. When he seeks light, Allah gives it to him, not always in the form of direct answers, but through signs, through an unexplained peace, through an inner presence that becomes impossible to ignore. You don't know why you keep thinking about her or him, but your heart is calm when you invoke his name in your prayers. It's not an obsession, it's not a loss of control. Perhaps it's a soulful recognition, a divine writing in progress. Sometimes Allah places a feeling in your heart, not for you to consume it quickly, but to purify it, to understand it, to prepare it to last. What if what you feel were mercy? A reminder that some connections are too precious to ignore. And when your heart becomes serene at the thought of walking with someone, it's not always you who speaks. Perhaps it's Allah who lifts a veil and whispers to you, I created this bond. Do not despise it. You don't have to force it. You don't have to run. Just sit back and listen to this silence that speaks so loudly. Perhaps it's taking you where your soul has always wanted to go, but only the light of Allah could show you. 2. Divine choice is never confusing. You think you're feeling something too strongly. You try to rationalize, to escape the idea, to silence that inner voice. But every time you return to your calm, to your space of sincerity, it's always that same person who crosses your heart. You think you're dreaming, but Allah does not play with the hearts of His servants. It's not an illusion. Perhaps it's a direction. In this world, emotions are often guided by lack, expectation, or need. But sometimes what you feel transcends all that. It's not dependence, it's alignment. When Allah chooses for you, He doesn't throw you into confusion. He takes you out of it, little by little, sign after sign, piece after piece. You tried to divert your thoughts. You even prayed to forget, but you couldn't, because this person isn't just in your mind. They're in a deep part of your soul that has recognized a truth your intellect cannot yet explain. And you continue to pray for them, even when they don't answer you, even when they move away. You don't pray because you're weak. You pray because something inside you knows that this connection has a heavenly origin. Allah doesn't need 1,000 means to unite two hearts. He just has to say, be, and it is. You don't feel what you feel by accident. Perhaps Allah is teaching you to recognize a love unlike any other in the world, a love that is built without words, without promises, but with constancy. A love that God silently prepares to blossom at the right moment. When Allah wants to unite you with someone, He removes doubts, He brings light. And even if the circumstances remain unclear, your heart becomes clear. So you no longer ask the question, is this the person? But rather, how can I be ready to receive what God has intended for me? Because divine choice never comes with chaos. It comes with a quiet strength that sweeps away all fears. 3. The test of patience before the reunion. Before two hearts meet again, there is the waiting, the emptiness, the silence. You pray, but he or she doesn't answer. You move forward, but the memory of him or her catches up with you. Always, when you least expect it. Always when you've almost convinced yourself it was nothing. And yet, it's there, always there, written somewhere in your heart, as if Allah refuses to let you forget. Not because you are weak, but because there is something to understand before the reunion takes place. You cannot receive what you ask for without being tested, without being purified, without being transformed. Because this bond isn't an ordinary bond, it's an invisible construction, a divine plan where every silence has a purpose, every delay, a wisdom, every distance, an intention. And you feel the burn, not a destructive pain, but that of a heart learning to love without possessing, to invoke without demanding, to hope without being attached to the result. That's where Allah elevates you, in the lack, in the frustration, in that moment when you could run away, but you choose to stay just with Him. It's no longer about her. It's no longer about him. It's about you and your relationship with Allah during this test. Because what you feel isn't yet a promise, it's a preparation. And if you cross this desert without getting lost, then perhaps this bond will see the light. But not before. Not until your heart is ready to love as Allah wants you to love, without haste, without ego, without impatience. The test is harsh, but necessary, because what God prepares is worth more than you imagine. They love you, and Allah has guided them. You may not know it, but he or she is thinking of you, not in an ordinary way, not in the worldly way, not to fill a void, but with modesty, with fear, with light. This person loves you, yes, but it is a love that has been subjugated, a love that stood before Allah in silence, trembling, saying to Him, "If it is good, make it easy. If it is not good, remove it from my heart, without breaking me." You weren't there, but your name was present in their most sincere supplications, those where tears fall silently, those we share with no one, those that remain between the soul and heaven. He or she asked, "O Allah, show me the truth of what I feel." And Allah, in His mercy, began to enlighten their heart. You didn't do anything special. You didn't need to impress. You didn't even know. But Allah knows what He places in sincere hearts. And that heart, He's guiding it towards you, gently, without rushing, but with certainty. This person isn't looking for romance. She's looking for a path, a shelter, someone to call on, not just someone to chat with. She doesn't want you to fill a void. She wants to build something that lasts, something that leads to Allah, not away from Him. And perhaps what you feel too, that unexplained thrill, that strange calm when you think of her, is the resonance of two souls that God is realigning. There's only one step left, just one, but it's not a human step. This is what Allah makes easy when two hearts have stopped running and have begun to supplicate. 5. Divine clarity leads to sacred union. When Allah decides to illuminate, He leaves no doubt behind. Hesitations fade like shadows before the sun. The walls that separated you fall silently. The fog in your heart disappears. And suddenly, you know no longer need external confirmation. Your certainty comes from above. It comes from that strange but powerful peace that dwells in the heart when Allah sets His light. It is no longer a race to convince. It is no longer an obsession to receive a message, a sign, an answer. It is a race toward what God has written for you, toward what is pure, toward what is sacred. When Allah clarifies a direction, silences become meaningful, waiting becomes educational, obstacles turn into springboards, and every moment, even frustrating ones, brings you closer to your destiny. Don't doubt this inner peace. It isn't there by chance. It is the discreet trace of divine guidance, a sign that your soul is following a path that God Himself has traced for you. Remember, Allah doesn't unite you with a person for a simple story. He unites you for a mission, for a home, for a future where His light will be the foundation, not emotions, not passions, but His will. And this clarity you feel now, it is the beginning of the shift, the moment your heart stops searching because it has found. You are experiencing more than a feeling. You are entering into a decree prepared in the invisible, protected, purified, and soon manifested. So move forward with faith, with certainty, because the union that God clarifies is a union that nothing can separate. When Allah illuminates a heart, it is never to create confusion. It is to guide. And if He is illuminating yours or that of another, then it is not just a human story. It is a sacred destiny being written step by step. So if your heart has felt every word, if you know that this message speaks to you without even understanding how, don't keep this to yourself. Comment, share, save, because it may not be just for you. Someone else needs to hear this. Someone else is waiting for the clarity God wants to release through you. Destiny often begins with a word, and sometimes with a video.